Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle DeTeach, or Coach Danny D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas, and I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danny D, always here trying to help you find that holistic success, that work-life balance, that space where you are successful not only in your business, but in all the other areas of your life. I am so excited to bring to you a guest today, Samantha Gregory. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about her bio, but first I got to start with how I came across how our paths crossed. So she was doing a study about the importance of self-care and sleep, and of course that just immediately, caught my attention. And anybody who, values sleep is always going to be a welcome guest on the podcast because Lord have mercy, we need to rest. We need to learn to rest. So Samantha Gregory is known as a self-care alchemist and is the visionary founder of Blyss Life Co and BlyssTech Solutions, where technology meets tranquility. I love that. I love alliteration, so I absolutely love that. Um, she helps high performing women, business owners, to go from tech stress to success by simplifying systems and implementing radical self care practices. Through her expertise, Samantha guides women from burnout to creating better boundaries and balance and bliss. Oh, I love all of that. Okay, she's also I'm getting ahead of myself and excited and I want to talk so bad. She is also the author of No More Crumbs: 10 Steps to Release and Recover from Toxic Relationships, a transformative guide to breaking free from toxic dynamics and connecting with self-love. Samantha's personal journey from a burnt out, bankrupt single mother to a thriving entrepreneur and wellness expert informs her work and inspires her mission. As the host of the Blissful Life podcast, Samantha empowers women to prioritize their well-being. So y'all know y'all have to add that podcast to y'all list of podcasts. Y'all already listening, add another one. Okay, Samantha, welcome to the show. And I can't wait to get into this conversation.
Thank you, Coach Danny. Thank you for having me here. I can't wait either.
All right, I have like 5 questions just from the bio, but I'm gonna go with the question that I had queued up for you. And that is, how did you come to the belief that self-care is a lifestyle?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. So, usually, I grew up in a time where getting massages and going to the hair salon and going getting a mani pedi and all that stuff was a form of, taking care of yourself, self-care. And that was the only idea or method that I knew how to do it. And so, as I got older and life began to life, things began to change. It got a little bit more hairy out there, and I was, really surviving instead of thriving. And I started having health issues. And with those health issues, I knew that it wasn't just rooted in me doing too much or me trying to be continuing to be the overachiever, but it was rooted in my mindset and the fact that I was thinking I had to do all these things in order to get approval from other people. And it was causing burnout. And with that burnout came my health issues, and I just had to take a step back. And instead of ingesting for a lifetime the depression medication and the um, recommended hormone replacement therapy because I went into menopause and I was 32 years old, because of the stress and burnout.
Mm.
I decided, nope, I'm not going to do that because it's not sustainable for me. I got
Yeah.
kids. I got to raise those kids, and I
Yes.
can't be on drugs. And
Right,
that's a
right,
bad way
right.
to say it. It seems bad, but
No, no, but I mean, so many people talk about the effects, the side effects of those medications.
yeah,
And I mean, in some instances, things are extreme and you have to,
right.
want to put that disclaimer because, if somebody on it, I ain't telling you to get off.
Sure.
But that being said, I am the type of person that I want to be on the least amount of things
Right.
possible. If I can avoid it, if there's an alternate
Mm-hmm.
way, I
Mm-hmm.
want to find that way.
Right. And that's what I did. I had to find my way back to my upbringing, and I had learned a lot about herbs. I learned a lot about holistic health. And so I went back that direction to figure out, well, okay, so how can I help myself? And then I found out that I was probably depleted of a lot of minerals, a lot of vitamins, a
Mhm.
lot of things that the body needs in order to be able to sustain stressful situations. I also recognize and in my research found out that I probably had really high cortisol levels. My
Mhm.
adrenal glands were probably shot to Hades. And all these things were just a perfect storm of mm, maybe self-abuse, kind of unconscious
Mhm.
self-abuse.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was just doing too much. I was doing the most, and I wasn't supporting myself, sustaining myself. And those, so that's when I, you know, create a formula for myself so that I can manage my symptoms that I was having, and it worked really well. And then I started looking deeper and into like, okay, so what else do I need to do? It can't just be the outward thing. It can't just be this solution or this formula that I created for myself to help with the physical symptoms. I need to figure out how to deal with my mind, how to
Mhm.
deal with my emotions. And so I began my journey of healing. And I found that I wasn't taking care of myself. I was never taught to take care of myself.
Mhm.
I didn't see people in my world taking care of themselves. A lot of women have burned themselves out. Their flame went out. And
Mhm.
that was a wake up call for me to say, okay, you can continue on this path and end up like they ended up sick with chronic illnesses and then eventually dying. Or you can stop now and you can make a U-turn and you can start a new way of living and a way that is really goes against the grain of you should be the strong Black woman and you should always be taking care of everyone else and you should always be available for other people and you should always be in this people pleasing mode. And so that's when I figured out and I came to several conclusions, but the main one is that self-care is a lifestyle. It is not just a an external activity. It's an internal shift and change that is born from the inside out. It's an inside out process,
Yeah.
not an external thing that you're going to put on yourself or in yourself to make yourself better.
Yeah. And so I heard a lot of things there, but one of the things that I heard was um just in the same way that like taking the medicine is dealing with the symptom and not the root.
Right.
Sometimes going to the spa, doing those things, is the same thing. You're
Mm-hmm.
taking care of the symptom, your body may be physically tired or that might be relaxing, but are you then just going back into the same environment that got you to, the point that you needed that fix? You know what I'm saying? Like, as
Right.
opposed to fixing what your life looks
Core
like.
issue. Yes.
Like fixing it completely holistically, like, okay, wait, hold up. Something
Mm-hmm.
has got to give. And um, one of the things you mentioned, people pleasing, I cannot move
Yeah.
forward without, we're gonna have to dig into that one
Oh,
because
yes.
I think that one is a huge sticking point for a lot of us, especially Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that that superwoman, and all of
Right.
these,
Right.
things. I refer to them as obligations, right?
Mm-hmm.
In air quotes, obligations,
Mm-hmm.
because we feel like we have to do these things,
Mm-hmm.
and who told us that? Like, in the sense of like, where's the contract that we signed that said that we
Um,
have to do these things?
mhm.
And then we've neglected ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, like self-abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're tending to everybody else and all their needs, and your needs are always on the back burner. And, just throwing this in just because I'm going to lose this thought if I don't. What I was thinking about as well is like we're at these accelerated paces, right? High achievers at these accelerated paces. Everything slows down as it gets older,
Yep.
including us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not sustainable. That
Yeah.
that pace is not sustainable. You're going to get older and have less energy and less ability to do all of these things. So then what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm. Right. And you're absolutely right that who made us sign a contract that said we must always put people first and their opinions and getting validation through this people pleasing process. And it's like, well, is it nature or is it nurture? And I think a lot of it is nurture. It's that unconscious thing that we've seen in the women in our lives. It's
Mm-hmm.
the things that we've been taught. You always, fix your dad a plate or iron his clothes, or your mom, you to make sure that she's not mad and angry and upset when she gets home and needs to cook dinner. You've done everything you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there is really never any room or space for individuality or validation that says, hey, you know what? You're great. I love who you are as a person, but
Right.
everything is wrapped up in your what you can do, what you can give,
Mm-hmm.
what you bring to the table. And
Yeah.
we've been hearing this a lot. What do you bring to the table?
Right.
And when you're a child and you're told that you need to bring certain things to the table, you need to bring your respect, you need to bring your manners, you need to bring your body and your labor. Otherwise, you're really not worth anything,
You need to be 10 times better.
Yes, 10 times better. And, we bought into this narrative and we've heard these things and we've been brainwashed to believe that our value is in what we do, not in who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That drives that people pleasing um, behavior. And it's so hard to get out of it because it becomes so deeply ingrained in our psyche, in our physical nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
When you try to break out of it, it's like, I'm not used to this, or what if they don't like me, or what if I stop doing this thing? Then what's going to happen?
Right.
That was my biggest fear. Okay, if I stop pleasing people, are they still going to love me or like me or want me around?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing I found out. They didn't care in the first place,
Right. Right. Like, because
Nothing
they
will ever,
never asked, you just did.
and
Like,
they
that's the
accept it.
part that I think that we don't examine is that you came in heavy
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
nobody asked you that. Nobody had that expectation until you created it, right? And
Hmm.
then that point when you burn out, there's that resentment because why don't they appreciate this thing that they never asked for
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
don't require in many cases? Now, I mean, 100% honesty, there are going to be people that have become accustomed to you doing X, Y, and
Right.
Z
Yes.
that are going to wig out when
Hmm.
you stop,
Hmm.
right? That's going to happen. I mean, I don't want anybody to be like, well, y'all said, no, no, that no, they got
Hmm.
people like that.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
there are also people that love you just because of you, not what you can
What you do.
do for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But until you stop doing all the things, you're never going to be able to see that.
Right. Absolutely. And it's so important to actually experiment. Stop. Just don't do anything. Just
Hmm.
be and see how many people stay in your life and how many people fade away.
Yeah.
And when you're able to be brave enough to do that, your eyes are open to the truth about the relationships that you thought you were in, or you see which ones were mutually beneficial, and then which ones were where you were just literally being used because of what you do and what you bring to the table. And that it can be heartbreaking because you thought that person cared enough, I mean, especially if you've been the one that doing all the reaching out and doing all the initiating and doing all the, activity in the relationship. And then when you stop and you realize, oh, well, where's everybody? Where
Right.
they all go? But this is all a part of the process of radical self-care and really radical selfishness and getting to this place where you're able to filter out those people who are just tolerating you and not celebrating you.
And like you said, it's not a fun experience. It's not a it doesn't feel good in that moment, but I think that just looking out like beyond that is such a beautiful experience because you
Hmm.
no longer have to, look over your shoulder or like, does this person have my best interest
Right.
at heart? One, you, like you said, weed out some of those relationships, but
Hmm.
two, you start to get your friendar better. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Hmm.
start to be able to say, oh, okay, 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 we're cool.
Hmm.
And
Right.
that this is, I don't need to do anything for us to be cool. I can just
Hmm.
be,
Hmm.
and we can just coexist together. Of course, we're going to love on each other and, do things for
Sure.
one another, but in a mutual way and in a way that
Hmm.
I never want someone that I love to be put out.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like if you are doing something and it's requiring you to sacrifice yourself in a way that is not necessary, then it's okay. We don't need to,
Right.
we don't need to go down that road. Like it's
Yeah,
okay.
it's okay. I can do without that.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned radical self-care practices. I just want you to dig a little deeper into that because just even hear the word radical just makes me
Yeah, so
fascinated.
I, people talk about, of course, the I guess basic self-care, but when you're going through this process of redefining your life, restructuring your life, you do have to go through a radical self-care experience, and that is deeper again than the surface level stuff that we do. It is emotional, physical, spiritual, relational. Um, and all the other parts of ourselves, it encompasses everything. And that means to get radical about it is you're going to have to uproot some things. You're going to have to dig up the foundation. You're going to have to excavate the whole house that you've built on these lies, as it were, and you're going to have to rebuild. And that is a radical process for anyone. And it's not like you mentioned earlier, it's not a pleasant thing necessarily, but it's a necessary thing if you want
Hmm.
to truly live a happy, fulfilled, satisfying life that you can wake up every morning and you be like, oh my God, life is great. It treats me well. I am here for it and let's go.
Right.
But most people don't wake up like that. They do not. They wake up like, oh my God, it's another day. What problems I got to deal with? My back hurt, my knees hurt, my heart hurts because I haven't dealt with these specific
Hmm.
issues. I'm dealing with this situationship. I'm dealing with this work frenemy situation. So there's so many different things that we are tolerating in our lives
Hmm.
instead of being intentional
Excuse me.
with ourselves, in our lives. And
Yeah.
so radical self-care is about being intentional about shifting and changing, growing, healing, and becoming the best version of yourself and creating the best version of the life that you actually want to live. Not one that has been lived by default, but by one that's been lived by intention.
I think that's, oh, excuse me. I think that's beautiful. I think what I see so often is that people don't have the belief.
Hmm.
Like, you said about, you're tolerating. And I
Yes.
think people believe that that's all that can be. And I just like sometimes I just want to be like, let me shake you real quick. Like, there is
Yeah.
more. It can be more. It's just, are you dedicated to
Hmm.
doing the things and going through the radical experiences that are going to get you to more? But
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be, the job that you hate. It doesn't have to be the relationship that's just good enough. It doesn't have to be, that I'm gonna just do this until I, die. Like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be that. You really can carve out a life that is fulfilling, that
Yeah.
is, joyful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's a big part of why I do any of this is because I'm like, I want people to experience it right now because you're saying when I retire, you don't know if you're gonna make it to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't know that you're gonna get that opportunity, or like some people say, oh, well, when I retire, I'm gonna travel the world or whatever. And then you
Mm-hmm.
retire and maybe your health is not the best, or, things are going on that prevent you from doing all of those things that you dreamed of doing.
Mm-hmm.
How can you make those dreams a reality today, in the
Absolutely.
present time?
Right. And that's so important to really evaluate. And I think a lot of time, a lot of the issue is people are, well, it's a couple of things, but the main issue is people aren't willing to be introspective and
Mm,
really look at their lives and look at their level of happiness, their level of stress, their level of satisfaction, because they have accepted the status quo. And it's easy to continue to run the road that has been paved for you for years and years and years, than create a new road and be a trailblazer in your own life. So, how do you do that? How do you get the courage to really take a look and not wait for someone else to tell you these are the problems that you're having. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of intention to look at your own life and say, why am I doing this? Like,
mm-hmm,
am I really happy? And how do I become happy? People really don't know how to be happy, thinking that it's outside of themselves, but happiness is not
mm-hmm.
out there. It's literally in here, but it's
Inside, yes.
underneath all the rubble, all the turmoil, all the drama, all the trauma, all the habits, all the beliefs that you have taken on, that 50% of was from someone else, and the other half is your own. And I was like, if you can deal with and realize that the 50% that's not yours, you can just let that go, throw that away, you release it, you got half the problem solved.
Right.
But it's
Right.
important to be willing. And it's just a willingness, the willingness to do it.
And I think sometimes, like you're saying, like that 50% that's not yours, I think a lot of times we don't even realize where we start and other people end.
Right. And that's that codependency.
You know
The
that, but like that just self-identity, like,
Yeah.
if you just walk up to the average person and you ask them what they want out of life or what makes them happy, or most people, like that's the most difficult question. And I can
Mm-hmm.
think of times in my life that I probably couldn't answer that question without like saying some cliche something, but not
Right.
a genuine answer. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that, I love how you talked about being introspective. I think that that's where it starts, is like, what do you even want? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if nobody else, was involved, what do
Right.
you want? Not,
Mm-hmm.
well, my mama always wanted me to be a doctor, or my, you know, best friend said I should be a lawyer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you actually want? And then how do we get there? Like, how do we, figure out how to peel all of that stuff back?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to throw out that word of accountability as well,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, like some of this stuff I cover when we do calendar detox, and a lot of times people get stunned when I say, well, who's in charge of your calendar?
Yep. That part.
Like, we have more control than we say that we do, or that we think
Mm-hmm.
that we do. We can decide what we want to do, what we don't want to do, what we want to stand for, what we don't want to stand for. And I think that we don't realize the power that we have.
Right. But I think a lot of that has been deliberately hidden from us
Oh,
because of the
yes.
systems that we live in. The educational system that prepares you for the work system, that prepares you for, being in a marriage or relationship where, and I'm speaking specifically for women, where you are the always one giving, and you're supporting. You're being the backbone, you're being the strength for everyone else. And so when we are in a system that is setting us up for servitude, then
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to break out of the habit of being in those spaces and carrying those labels that we rarely feel that we even have a right to ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is my life this way? And realizing the power that we have, because we've been taught we're powerless unless
Yes.
we're doing X, Y, and Z for other people. We don't have any power. And if you're not a superhero, or if you're not a politician, or if you're not someone needs a celebrity or whatever, or CEO, you don't have power. That's the message that's really been received by the
Yes.
masses, and it's one that we really have to debunk and understand that as an individual on this planet and as a child of God, the universe, that we are literally stardust, that we are energy beings, and that we have the power to manifest and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. Even from the thinking about, we all have these 3 o'clock in the morning type of scenarios where you wake up and you know you need to go to the restroom. You're thinking about it. You see yourself walking to the restroom, but you do not want to do that.
Right.
But eventually you get there.
Right.
And the power of your imagination to say, okay, you get to go and do this thing and that's just on a small microscopic level,
Mm-hmm.
but bigger things that we decide we want, whether it's a car, whether it's an education, whether it's a special person, we get to decide this is a thing that I want, but we have to take it to the next level and say, well, this is whole life I want, not just what I want to have for lunch. No, this is what I want to have for life.
Right, right. And I think that that is so huge. And I love that you talked about the system,
Hmm.
because it is true. It is like, you know, grind culture, all of these different like things. And like you said, like, you're supposed to go to school and then get this job and then, marry this person and then have these kids and then, rinse and repeat, like this is what you're supposed to do. And we are taught it from infants. We are
Yeah.
taught how to navigate this system. And one of the things, just, like in people's preparation, I guess, to become radical and and do
Hmm.
something different, you're gonna get pushback.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna get that pushback. I'm telling you, just pick some random thing that goes against the grain and go do it, and you instantly see people who I don't even think people realize that they are pushing back.
Hmm.
Like I,
Hmm.
I can remember when I started this journey, like people who I mean, and some that I still consider friends, like no, shade towards them because it's ingrained. So it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Hmm.
how could you sure about that? Like it was, that resistance because everyone feels like that's not an option and you're doing
Hmm.
something insane. But it's also because you're partially breaking their brain because they're like, That's not supposed to be an option."
Hmm.
But
Right.
it can be. There's a lot of us, that didn't made it over to the other side.
Hmm.
It really
Yeah,
can be.
it can. And it's the water's fine. Come on over, you
Right.
know? But I think the fear of being different or being an outcast or ruffling some feathers, rocking the boat, all the little idioms and sayings and stuff like that. People have been in small little ways punished for going outside of the
Yes.
lines, coloring
Yes.
outside of the lines. Started with childhood. You're supposed to stay in the lines. You're supposed to make sure you have these perfect square boxes, and you're supposed to, make sure that everything is perfect. Or else you get a bad grade, or you're going to fail, or you won't move forward in this system. You won't be promoted. You won't, get married. What all the different things that are held over our heads that keeps us in line and keeps us away from our true power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and being able to really take care of ourselves emotionally,
Yeah.
physically, financially, all the ways in which we need that care so that we can give from the overflow instead of from this depleted place and giving from the last drop.
Yeah. It's tough. It can be definitely tough because yeah, it's everything that we society has us believe, right? And for me, I think that the sad part of it is basically it's creating this like massive assimilation.
Mm-hmm.
And my belief is that your superpower is always in that thing that makes you different.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we're losing, not just like our power to choose, but we're losing that superpower. We're losing that thing that is going to change the world. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're going to be the person to cure
Mm-hmm.
cancer, but you
Mm-hmm.
may be the person that, makes the next person feel a little more normal. You may
Yeah.
be the person that helps the next person through whatever struggles that they are dealing with, because
Mm-hmm.
I think whatever the struggle is, it's always made harder by the fact that we feel like we're the only person
Mm-hmm.
experiencing it.
Right.
And the more conversations that I have, the more it's like, wait, what? Like you like, and it could be any topic. Like,
Yes.
I was talking to my friend group one day and we were talking about like perimenopause symptoms or whatever. And it was just like, wait, you got it too? Like you do it, like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what the topic is. Once you start opening up and being more transparent about what's going on, there's someone else that is experiencing that, or that, if you're, neurodivergent, there's somebody else they got that same spicy that you have. My friend calls
Right.
it neuro spicy.
Mm-hmm.
There's, so like I found out from TikTok that I got ADHD. I was like, oh,
Right. Same.
like,
Same. Shocked. I was like, what?
oh, that's what that, oh, okay.
Look, this explains so much. Like,
Right.
and I had to, when I learned this for myself, ADHD is like, so that's why I was like that. That's why I felt so weird, out of place. Like, life wasn't making sense to me. It was, I was doing weird things.
I'm like, who knew?
Right, right. But then I had to even go through a little period of grief because I was trying so hard. I had worn so many masks to be able to appear normal that I was like, all these years, I have not allowed myself to just be me and realize that this is not a bad thing. It's simply a different thing. The way I
Right.
think, the way I am, how I view life is a bit different, and it's okay.
And I think we have to get to a place where we feel like that about all things. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because, you know, sometimes we're judging ourselves on the inside. Sometimes, we are misunderstanding something that's going on with the next person because
Mhm.
we don't understand how their brain works or how they,
Right.
do things. And it's it's just different. It's
Mhm.
beautifully different. But if
Mhm.
we learn to lean into those things as opposed to like trying to suppress them, or like you said, like,
Right.
just sitting there masking, like, I mean, for the longest, like I actually last year, um like a year ago yesterday, I did a talk for my friend's foundation, and it was about unlocking your superpower.
Mhm.
I was a quiet child, never really spoke. And when I was older, I still didn't speak. Like I still
Mhm.
would keep my thoughts to myself. If you knew me
Mhm.
well, then, you know,
Yep.
you get it.
Mhm.
But if you didn't, because I always felt like I thought about things differently and people didn't understand me.
Mhm. Exactly.
And that same thought process is what people seek me out for.
Right. Yep.
But I would have never known that if I didn't go down this journey and, learn self-love and learn,
Hmm.
to embrace that part and learn to even hear, because sometimes people are telling us things the whole entire time, but because we're deflecting compliments,
Hmm.
we're not hearing what they're saying. And I do this exercise with my clients where I ask them to go post on social media, like, what are, if somebody were to describe you, to refer you,
Hmm.
either personal or professional, what would they say?
Hmm.
And I do it periodically, and some of the things that people said, I was like, okay. Like,
Hmm.
and then I would go to like my friend group and I'm like, so these people out here saying,
Hmm.
oh, one of them was like that I'm calming. And I
Hmm.
was like, huh? And my friends was like, yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna need to own that one. And I
Yeah.
was just like, I don't see it. And I had to sit in it, and I realized that I suffer with anxiety. And so
Hmm.
when people are not calm,
Hmm.
it makes me anxious. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
if you see people running, you start running. And
Hmm.
so it makes me anxious because I don't know why we are worked up. Like, why are
Right.
we worked up? And
Yeah.
so I have a tendency to calm people down because
Hmm.
it it irritates my anxiety.
Right. Right. I
But
get
I
it.
never thought about that until like three or four people like in a row were like, you're calming. And I'm like,
Hmm.
sure. But it's things that we don't see about ourselves, don't appreciate about ourselves because we're constantly told this is the way to be.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we start removing our nuance and our flair and our, well, not
Hmm.
removing, but maybe suppressing.
Right. Right.
And that's a lot, that's taxing as well. Like, we, have um used the term burnout a few times in this, in this conversation. That's taxing. That's
Mhm.
extra work that your brain is doing to try to
Right.
suppress who you really are.
Hmm. And it's what is it called? It's like you are putting a straitjacket on your being, your very essence, your energy. And it's like, how can you calm a storm that's happening in a teacup? With a teacup, just
Right,
kind of
right, right.
can't do it.
Because on
It's a
the
lot of
inside,
energy.
because like a lot of people like when I say I suffer with anxiety, they're like, where? And I'm like,
Right.
on the inside.
On the inside. Yes. I
Like,
get that.
don't don't get in here. Like,
Hmm.
on the inside. But the more I embraced, just going through the ugly and that introspection, like, I refer to all of my emotions as like, I personify them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I'm just like, anxiety, I mean, she a liar. She lie a lot. And so I have to show her better than I can tell her. So when I
Hmm.
start feeling, now I can identify because I'm not suppressing it anymore. And so
Right.
I can start feeling her coming,
Hmm.
smell her perfume, whatever. I know she coming.
Yep.
And I know before she get here, I better get up and go do something.
Hmm.
Because if I start taking action, then she can't say nothing because how you gonna tell me I can't do what I'm already doing?
Right. Right.
But I can manage her in that way. Like, people,
Hmm.
I don't like when people say fearless and things like that. I don't feel like emotions go away or you can
Hmm.
conquer an emotion. It exists, it's a part of who you are,
Right.
but it's the ability to manage it. But without introspection, it's like
Hmm.
you can't get there. You need that honesty with yourself.
Right. Exactly. That is key. I had another conversation and we were talking about the self-honesty and oftentimes how we have grown so accustomed to lying to ourselves or
Mhm.
denying the truth about how we feel, what we want, how we want to connect or not connect with other people. And we just have this habit of just lying to
Mhm.
ourselves. And our body keeps score, as they say. And it can tell when you are not being honest, when you're not being authentic, when you are hiding and suppressing and masking. And that, of course, feeds the anxiety, it feeds the nervousness, it feeds depression, it feeds all the things because you're not able to be your true self. You're not able to be the storm because you're trying to be rain. You're
Right,
trying to,
right,
be a trickle. That's just not who you are. You're more than
right,
that.
right. And then sometimes you just gotta go through it. You know what I'm saying? Like it may not be that you're gonna feel that storm all the time,
Mhm.
but right now it's storming.
Right.
And so, we're not gonna go outside, in the storm. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna make decisions that fit where we are right now. And
Mhm.
I think one of the things I heard in that was just like, we always have this like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay when really you might not be okay. And that's okay. Like that's fine. You don't have to be okay all of the time. I saw a post on TikTok and the guy was talking about, I wish I remember exactly like his wording, but he was talking about how like even in like religious space, like when somebody passes away, you're like, you know, um, you know, joy cometh in the morning, all of these different things that
Yeah.
are like, you know, a really cute religious way of saying move on.
That part.
you
Yeah.
know, Suck it up, move on. You believe in Jesus.
Mhm.
Like, and it's
Yeah.
like, I do
That part.
believe in Jesus,
hmm
but I also am allowed to be sad. I do
hmm
still miss this person. I do still care about this person. I do still, like, why do I have to have this armor
hmm
when I really just need to fall out?
Right.
Just let me fall out.
But I think it's all about making other people comfortable, which circles back to that people pleasing and how people program you, how they push you into this um, way of behaving so that you don't make them uncomfortable. And whether you have ADHD or whether you are any other neurodivergence, or if you are discovering yourself and you're figuring out that, hey, I really don't have to be what they said I have to be. If you're going through, if you're struggling, if you are in a space of just not making other people comfortable, then that's when you get to that pushback. That's when people, like you said, are start to wig out. That's when people um trying to push you, stuff you back down, you be less, be less, be less, when you're meant to be more, be more, be more. And
Right.
regardless if it makes them uncomfortable or makes them upset or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's about how you feel. And again, that's part of that whole radical experience. And the radical part is because the norm is what makes people comfortable. The radical
Hmm.
makes people uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
You
Absolutely.
makes you comfortable in your skin once again, or at least be introduced to it. Because if you've grown up in a environment or place where you've never been allowed to be yourself or discover yourself, and you must take on all of the labels everyone else has put on you, then you have to go through that process of discovering who you really are. And
Hmm.
you're not your mom or your dad, you're not your church family, you're not your friends, you are you, but
Right.
you don't even know who that is because you have taken on all these different ideas and roles and projections that people have put on you. So you do yourself a service to figure that out, find out. And, that's an adventure in and of itself.
It is. It is. Adventure, I think, is the most appropriate word because it has plot twists and turns and things that you just didn't even, you like, wait, what?
Mhm.
I did not see that coming.
Right.
But it is also just so freeing.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when you get to that other side of like you just like I don't even care. Like I don't even care. Like not even a little bit of like I'm
Right.
just going to be. I'm just going to exist and I'm just going to celebrate who I am.
Hmm.
I think um you reach a certain, level of freedom. I also think like, people are always saying that they want to be around, better people and this that, and everything else. I think you start to attract your people
Yes.
like
Yes.
just naturally. Like you just like that's my person like right there.
Hmm.
Like you
Hmm.
you start to draw those people in and attract those people and it's kind of weird because prior to that is like, you just feel like, well, there's nobody that understands me. There's nobody that, and I mean, like now I feel like every person I meet, like there's some connection to a part of
Hmm.
my soul. And I'm like,
Right.
what? Like you totally get that about me, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. Now, I
Hmm.
don't want to get too far gone because I know we need to wrap up soon, but I want you to tell me a little bit more about your morning ritual because I know when we talked before you spoke about that and that really sparked my interest.
Sure, sure. So I call it my magic morning ritual. And it's for people who, and I specifically say it's for people who are neurodivergent, who have ADHD, because I call it a ritual because I hate routines. I get bored. I don't like it. And
Yes.
so creating this set of 7 or 8 different things, and they all start with an M because it's the morning. So I have my meditation and I have movement and I have motivational talks that I listen to. I also have music that I love to listen to. I have a magic morning playlist that I love. And I check my money, because that's part of it. And
Yes.
then what's the other thing? Morning pages, so like journaling a bit. But I do all these things. Now, I don't do all of them all the time. It depends on how I feel. And I'm really learning to honor how I feel.
Mm,
And by doing that, I can integrate anywhere from two to all of the different things that's in my morning ritual. So if I'm feeling great, I might do all of it. If I'm feeling, I may do a 2 or 3. If I'm like not feeling the best, I may do 1 or 2, and that's good enough.
right.
And so by integrating this morning ritual routine in my life, I set the tone for my day and I ground myself in the day so that when I go out into the world, when I am experiencing other people, I'm not moved by their energy because I've created the energy that I
Mm,
want for myself.
yes.
And I think when you're able to adopt this type of mindset in the morning, and there was a lady who talks about commanding your day.
Mm,
It's a similar thing. You're commanding the day, you're making the decisions for the day, you're deciding ahead of time, this is going to be an amazing day. It's fantastic. I'm doing all these things for myself. Oh my God,
right.
yes. And so I'm able to have some of the best days I've decided to have. And it's all about a decision that you make. It's not about, well, I might, or if circumstances are okay, or if this person says I can do the best I can, or if listening to the news just throws me completely off, which I never do. I never look at TV in the morning, never look
Mm-mm.
at the news.
Like, mm-mm.
Because no, you're not gonna ruin my day before it starts. And then, if I don't commute that much anymore, but when I commuted, I listen to audiobooks, which is my motivational talks, or a YouTube video that I wanted to listen to, anything that's going to really elevate my day. The music is the same way. It's all high vibration music, so
Mm,
that I can dance. And that's part of the movement. I have a rebounder that I love jumping on every day. Put my playlist on and start and jump for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It doesn't matter, but I get a full workout like I ran 30 minutes on
right.
the rebounder. So I just love that part of my day. And I'm a morning person, so my brain is ready, it's refreshed, I'm grounded, and it's really hard for anything to really disturb my peace when I've done my morning rituals.
I love that. I am not a morning person, and I admire that about you. Um, I am not a morning person, but because I know that and honor that, I
Hmm.
structure my day accordingly.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and you reminded me of a time like when I was, um, working and I was not happy in the space that I was in. um I started doing, I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm a tea drinker. So I
Hmm.
started
Same.
doing tea in the morning.
Hmm.
And so when I would walk into work, I said that for this 10 minutes, I would put my things down, I would go in the kitchen, I would make my tea, and I for this 10 minutes, I wouldn't touch the computer, I wouldn't
Hmm.
do anything but sit there quietly with my
Hmm.
tea.
Hmm.
And like towards the end of the 10 minutes, I would kind of like write out these are the things that I need to focus on today.
Right.
And I just kept that ritual up. Like even after I stopped working, like in the morning,
Mhm.
my husband will, bring me water and tea, like when I first wake up in the morning, and I will,
Mhm.
still do that. And so I love that. I love the fact of like setting the tone
Mhm.
for your day because stuff gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's how you receive it. You can choose
Mhm.
to, receive it in a very you can choose to let something wreck your day, right?
Right. Yes.
Or you can decide to frame your day in a
Mm.
way that you have that control, you have that
Mhm.
power, you have that outlook.
Yes.
And so I just absolutely love that. And I want to challenge everybody to figure out what that looks like. Like, figure out what that looks like for you because we can't keep letting life happen to us.
That part.
At some point, we have to take control, and
Mhm.
make decisions that are going to get us to where we want to be as opposed to just, it's almost like we just hopped on a random bus.
Mhm. Going to who knows where.
And we don't know where it's going. We just walked into Greyhound and was just like, I'm getting on that bus. And you
Right.
have no clue where it's going, if it's somewhere you want to be, So
Mhm.
you have that option, you have that choice. And a lot of times we see other people doing things and succeeding, and we're thinking that they have something different than
Yeah.
what we have. And it's just that they were brave enough to go for it.
Mhm.
If you're going to be working for something, you might as well work for what you want. As
Mhm.
you're not happy in what you have, so work for something different.
Right.
Choose your uncomfortable.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely choose your uncomfortable. So before I do the wrap up questions, is there anything that you just you would be remiss without sharing with the audience that you want to, any last thoughts?
Let's see. I am really an advocate for reclaiming your self-care.
Mhm.
um, reclaiming your wellness because we have spent so much time in self-sacrifice mode that we don't embrace the self-care mode. We don't take care of ourselves. There's this book I love called, well, that I read years ago called The Proper Care and Feeding of, and it was husbands at that time. But now it's like the proper care and feeding of me
Mhm.
and realizing that you get to enjoy life. And if you've never really set that as a goal, set it as a goal.
Right.
Enjoy life. Because if you spent so much time in servitude and service and doing for others and people pleasing, enjoying yourself has been pretty much the bottom of the list, if it was even on the list. And I realized that for myself. It's like I've never put it on my list to enjoy life. And I was like, let's
Right.
put it at the top of the list.
Right. Uh-huh. Right.
So now my goal is enjoying life. And I just challenge everyone else to make that a top level goal for yourself from this day forward, not just for next year, but forever. Because when you do that, you start to follow your bliss. You start to move into this space of more power. And you get to create the life that you want versus being a victim of the circumstances of your life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I shared with a friend the other day. I said, this was something I was talking about on a grief podcast, and sadness, all of those things will find you.
Mm-hmm.
Joy has to be sought out.
Yeah.
It has to be sought out. And so we have to make a concerted effort. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to just come knocking at your door.
Right.
We have to make a concerted effort to figure out what is that, what brings us joy and how
Mm-hmm.
do we incorporate that in every day, like little things, I like a fancy pen.
Mm-hmm.
Little things that build up to bigger things and try to find as many joyful moments
Mm-hmm.
that we can in the day because again, the other stuff will find you
Yeah,
without you trying.
exactly.
But we have to seek joy. I
Mm-hmm.
love this conversation so much, and we could go for hours, but I'm gonna do the wrap up. So my first wrap up question is, tell me about your favorite pair of pajamas.
My favorite pair of pajamas are ones that my son actually bought me. I told him I wanted pajamas for Christmas, and of course he's like, "Well, Mom, just put it on the list." So, and they're like these pink with white trim, and they're very comfortable. They're a little bit too big for me now, but they are just like the ultimate lounge pajamas that I
Mhm.
really, really like.
Yeah, I love a comfy pajama. Like
Mm.
you
It's a
know,
two-piece. So, the top and bottom is
yes.
like I love that. It's yeah, very comfortable. And I feel very luxurious in it.
Like that too.
Hmm.
I bought one of those caftans.
Hmm.
Man, talk
Yes.
about diva too. Like they shouldn't have never sold it to me because I just want to walk around with like a champagne glass just like floating
Hmm.
through the house. Like,
Hmm.
but I mean, sometimes you need those moments that you just, in your diva space. So yes, I have probably everybody has said their favorite kind, and I probably own.
Uh-huh.
It's not an accident that the podcast is called Profits in Pajamas.
Yes.
Okay, my time freedom allows me to.
Allows me to reconnect with myself
Mm,
and really sit in the space of peace and knowing. Knowing who I am, knowing what I want, um, and allowing it to happen for me.
I like that. I like that. And I think it's so important that we spend time. Like, I think because we're so busy doing the other things, we never
Mhm.
really spend that time with ourselves. And I think that's beautiful. All right. What's the best advice you would give someone that's seeking the profits in pajamas lifestyle?
Mm. It would be to let go of all the rules that people have said that you should follow about life in general and specifically business because every business is just as unique as the person running the business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to find that lane, you have to find that space, that spot. And I'm still learning this for myself. I cannot do what other people say, the gurus say, and all of those people. I can't do that because it doesn't fit my lifestyle. It doesn't fit my life experience either. And I think that you'll find that being in business is a true personal development
Mm-hmm.
process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Ooh.
go along, just go with it. Just go with it. It's one of the best things that you'll do for yourself because it'll take you from level to level to level, and you can actually do that if you want.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. My coaching sister, she was on a previous episode. Her favorite phrase is eat the fish and spit out the bone.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to advice, best practices, that type of stuff, it's not all for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that might work for you, and there's some that you have to piece it together to make it make sense. Like you
Yes.
said, for your unique situation.
Hmm.
Um, but that requires knowing yourself.
Exactly.
Because, I've had people give you advice and I'm like, that's a no. Like, that's a hard no, because I know myself and I know my business and I know that that's not a fit.
Hmm.
And a lot of times I think people do go down bunny trails
Oh yeah.
because they're following every new thing that comes out, but because they haven't really gotten to the core of their identity.
Hmm.
It's like that one wasn't for you. That was for your neighbor, but it
And the
wasn't
great
for
thing
you.
is, business principles, they last. Those things that the foundations of business, learn that.
Right.
Learn that. And then the nuance, the brand, all the things that's you.
Right.
That's who you are. And you get to decide and you get to sculpt that around the business principles so that you're not tossed to and fro by this trend and this fad and this new business process idea and model.
Right.
Learn the basics, please, because you need
Right.
to.
Right. Get your foundational work and then
Right.
I think it's like, earlier we were talking about the assimilation. It's the same thing with businesses.
Hmm.
And you start scrolling social media and I'm like, did I see this business 5 minutes ago? But it's another business, but it everybody's following the same
Same thing.
model and you've taken your identity out of it, but your identity is a thing that your clients are going to connect to. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I absolutely love that. All right, so tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, how they can work with you, how they can continue this relationship.
Sure, sure. So I am on everywhere. I think I'm everywhere. My website specifically for radical self-care is the selfcarealchemist.com. Um, and that's where you're going to find my idea framework. And that's where I take you from help you transform burnout into bliss through radical self-care. And it helps you to identify your stress triggers and the source of your weakness. It helps you dismantle harmful beliefs and empowers you to create healthy boundaries and self-care strategies, and then aligning your mind and your body for thriving and not just surviving. And so at selfcarealchemist.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. You can specifically find me on LinkedIn. I do publish a self-care oasis newsletter
Okay.
so that you can get all the bite-sized tips and strategies for radical self-care, whether you are an executive or an employee. It doesn't matter. It's good for anyone. So I'm Samantha Gregory on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I'm Miss Samantha Gregory at Facebook and TikTok.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I will put all of that information into the show notes so you guys can get to it easily. Connect. I bring all of these wonderful, beautiful people on here so that you can't say I don't know somebody that fill in the blank. I'm filling in all the blanks for y'all so that you can connect with somebody. You've listened to the episode, you've gotten to know Samantha, you know what she's about, you know her vibe, you know if she's a fit for you. Reach out because we got to get to that other side. We have to get to that other side of, joy of, like one of my friends would say, relaxing our nervous systems, like just being able to just be without all of the extra thoughts, all of the extra, stress, and
Hmm.
knowing that we are taking care of ourselves on a, routine basis, not just oh, I'm going to get my nails done today. Like
Right.
that's nice. And if
Hmm.
that's what you enjoy, go and do it.
Hmm.
But make sure that you are doing more than the superficial.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
It's
being
been
a
a
guest. I enjoyed this conversation. I know we will be back in conversation again
pleasure.
because this was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Um, but I definitely enjoy having you here and everything that you shared with the audience.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I know that we have so much in common in terms of, just how we are, what we believe in, rest specifically. And I am
Yes.
doing a radical rest challenge right now. So definitely tap in. And
Yeah.
again, thank you for having me on the show. I really have had fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you, audience, for listening. I always am so like intrigued by, the fact that you guys really do enjoy these conversations because y'all get all the way to the end of them. Um, and that's a beautiful thing. But it's like, when you're having good conversations with good people, time absolutely flies and you don't
Mm,
realize like, wow, we've been sitting here, you don't feel it.
no.
So I appreciate you. Um, guys, I will see you next week. And we'll have some more interesting information for you on next week. I'm not sure what that's going to be, but it'll be a surprise. But I definitely want you to reach out to Samantha and get yourself together as far as self-care is concerned, especially, as we're entering into this new year. Get it together. Get yourself
Mhm.
together. Love on yourself. It's a lot going on in the world, and all you have is you. All you can control is you. So let's love on ourselves. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to the Prophets in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDannyD.com.